What's up, guys, and welcome back to Skins in the Game. I'm Tim. We got J-Dubs over there. How you doing today, J-Dub?
Just living the dream.
Living the dream, yeah. Golfing,
Had a little
hanging out.
had a
with the
little
sun.
bank thing scare. They think they got squared away, but it's always something.
It's always something. Fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah, I'm just over here sports betting. I have turned $50 or $30 actually into like 140 right now, which is kind of cool, but just got screwed on my latest bet. So it is what it is. What up, Paul? What up, Redskins Man 10? What up, Gabriel? So Kevin Durant went to the Phoenix Suns. Is that true? Did you hear Kyrie Irving got traded to the Mavericks? So the Nets, who thought they had a team that could compete for years to come with all the trades they made, have now blown up their team completely. Did Kevin Durant really end up on the Suns for real?
I did not hear
Kevin
that.
Durant. Wow.
The Philadelphia front runners.
Sheesh. What up, Lee? Wow, that's interesting for the Suns. They had a pretty decent team over there already. I guess they have Booker and KD now. And now you have Luka and Kyrie. All right, interesting stuff over there in the NBA right before the trade deadline. But all right, what we're going to talk about today, of course, is some Washington Commander stuff, mainly what Ron Rivera had to say to the media. So I'm sure that will stir up some conversation, especially in the chat and between you and I. Of course, we have Super Bowl 57 to predict and talk about going in. It will finish with Weddle. But as every show, we're going to start with the dad joke of the week.
All right, well, I'm just pulling one out here. So I like to question one. So why did the Invisible Man turn down a job offer?
Why?
Because he couldn't see himself doing it.
Because he couldn't see himself doing it. That is a good dad joke right there. That's a classic one for sure. All righty. So today, as I said, we're going to start doing these drafts now. And this week we decided to do the best coaches of all time in all of sports. So not just NFL, all of sports, the best coaches of all time. You either had first pick last week, right?
Yes, you did.
So you got first pick this week on the list of coaches. So who are you starting with? The best coaches of all time.
All right, well, I went back and forth on that, but I think I'm going to be a homer and say Joe Gibbs.
Dang it! He was going to be my first pick. That's so annoying because not only we're talking all of sports, he had his three Super Bowls with three different quarterbacks, but he's also top notch in NASCAR. So he's top notch in two different, that's pretty cool getting stuff going there. Okay. You took the first pick. Well done. So now I have the great second pick, and I feel like there's a million different ways to go, but I'm just going to stay in football, and I'm going with Vince Lombardi. Held the first.
Oh, that was going to be my second pick.
All right.
So you did.
There we go. We good.
So what's turnabout?
See, Bill Belichick is not an obvious choice anymore now that he lost Tom Brady, right? Like for a while it was an obvious choice, but now that he lost Tom Brady and he wasn't really, he's been a middle of the road team since he lost Tom Brady. But anyway, it's interesting. So Bill Belichick is an interesting one, but go ahead. Number 2.
All right. I think I'm going to go to basketball and go with John Wooden.
John Wooden, right?
Wooden. It's with a D.
Oh, Wooden. Sorry.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Fair enough. I had him on my list as well. Do I want to go to basketball then? I could just follow your lead, and I could go to basketball, and I'll go Coach K. Duke, longtime coach, crazy amount of wins. Coach K.
That was on my list.
Uh-huh.
Although being in college, he gets the upper hand on getting a lot of recruits. But no, I think that's a good pick.
But he's also somebody that adapted, right, when they started, because for a long time he did all 4 years, and then he went to the single year and still adapted with the new times and still had a top-notch team year in and year out. But go ahead.
He does put a good product on the field or on the court. All right, I'm going to stay in basketball and go with Phil Jackson.
All right, I had him up there. Okay, that's good. I'm going to go to back to football, college football, and say Nick Saban. Nick Saban.
All right.
In
That's
one
good.
of the most, or the most competitive time in sports right now, Nick Saban has some crazy amount of championships in the last 15, 20 years.
He
And
is a good one.
yep, he's up there.
All right, then I will go in the football arena again and go with Tom Landry.
Tom Landry. Somebody else saying that over here. Okay,
John
Tom
Gruden.
Landry. John Gruden. You know what? This was actually, he's on my list. I'm gonna do I do it? He is a top-notch coach as well. Let's see. Oh, there's so many different directions here that we can go. And I'm sure there's other sports that we have even like gone into that you could argue with. I'm gonna go. I'll go with it. Somebody said it. I had him on my list. Greg Popovich
He was on
for
my
the
list
Spurs.
too.
For the Spurs, excuse me, not Spurs. Spurs.
Spurs. All right, then I'm going to go with Dean Smith.
Dean Smith. He was not on my list here. That's a good one though. Okay. What did we
North
pick on?
Carolina.
That was pick number 5 for you, right?
That was. So you get one
All right.
more.
I get the final pick. I'm going to go with DeMatha's old coach. Most
Morgan
wins
Wooten.
on any level ever as a high school coach. Well, at any level, though, to over 1,200 some odd wins, and he ended like a crazy streak with 71 wins. Morgan Wooten for DeMatha. So there's
By the
our
way,
list.
I went to DeMatha. I had Morgan Wooten as a history teacher.
Morgan Wooten is a history teacher? True.
Yep. Because back then, all the coaches also had to be teachers. So he taught history and he was the basketball coach. But
True. Somebody just, I don't know, mentioned that we could go outside of the two sports that we know the best, but Scotty Bowman, they have his list super high for NHL.
yeah, that's a good one. I toyed with that one as well on my list. So
Fair enough. All right. Well, there you go. There's our list, and much better timing on that one, for sure. He has all the right players. Who you're talking about? Nick Saban. That's fine, but part of that whole situation is recruiting, and it's not like Alabama was winning a bunch of championships before he got there, too. Right? Like Bear Bryant, I guess, a long time ago could be a decent one on the list as well. But anyway, all right. Well, that was fun. Good list. Good drafts. I liked our picks, and let's keep it going. All right. Washington Commander news. Ron Rivera on Super Bowl week going and talking to the media. And he had some interesting stuff to say, but we're going to start with real quick. Ron Rivera won the Salute to Service Award, the USA Salute to Service. So shout out Ron Rivera. And of course, I mean, this is an award like built for him. The award honors league personnel who take tangible steps to honor and support military communities. USA, which sponsors the honor, will provide $25,000 donation to each military branch's official aid society in Rivera's name. So I guess he doesn't win the award, which makes sense. But shout out Ron Rivera for winning the award that was basically built for him. Not literally, but he's definitely a shoo-in for that. I feel like year in and year out. I don't know how anybody else wins when that's all Ron Rivera talks about. Military family, drafts players based on military background, loves the military.
hey, it's good to see somebody on the Commanders win.
Yeah. Right. Something we're not really going to talk much about is the Pro Bowl today. I actually, honestly, did not even watch any of the Pro Bowl. I didn't have any interest in the Pro Bowl. Did you?
I have not watched the Pro Bowl in I've seen highlights, not this year, but I've seen highlights from past ones. But it is so it should be touch football. I would rather if I watch something would be
it was flag football this year. It was a flag football this year, and there was a lot of skills competitions, so it was interesting. But something came up on Sunday. That's why I couldn't live stream it. And then I ended up never even going back and looking at it. But anyway.
Yeah, I had no interest. So sorry to anybody who does.
Huge news, Dad. Huge news.
What's that?
He said straight up, Washington is not, and I repeat, not looking to trade a ton of capital for a QB1. So he basically took us out of the market of Lamar Jackson, out of the market for maybe Trey Lance, out of the market for Justin Fields. We are done with going and spending money on a big name free agent quarterback. Not that we did 2 years ago, but this year we obviously made a big trade, splashy move. What do you think about that announcement that we are not interested in making a big trade for a quarterback?
No, I'm fine with that. I heard him say that right now Sam is the number one and there'll be some competition, but I'm fine with let's see what we've got and not, sell the farm to, potentially get someone, you always got to want it like free agents. If somebody's that good in free agency, then the team's going to franchise them.
Yeah.
So if they're out there on the open market, there's a reason they're out there. So I'm perfectly fine with not spending a ton of money trying to bring in somebody that's going to be the missing piece. I know it's very small sample size, and I'm not ready to say that he's the guy, but I like what I've seen so far from Sam, and I'm perfectly fine with them developing around him.
I have a conspiracy theory though. And honestly, I don't care how he gets to the conclusion, but if he sticks with Sam, I'm happy about it. We'll talk more about that in a second. Do you think that upper management put the kibosh on even allowed to spend all of that with new ownership potentially coming in and new ownership not wanting to have to come in with a quarterback that they have no interest in paying a ton of money for and spending a bunch of their capital? Do you think he was actually told from upper management he actually is being put the clamps on, or do you think this was his true decision?
I think upper management is too distracted right now to make those kind of decisions.
Well, that's pretty important decision though for the new owner. Like if they wouldn't traded Lamar Jackson for Lamar Jackson, right? And new ownership was not in on it. Now all of a sudden you're paying Lamar Jackson, agreed to him like $300 million or something stupid. They really can't make that kind of a move, right?
No, that's good. That's a good point. That's maybe that's a part of it too. And I can't believe that there's not backroom or back alley dealings with Dan Snyder and whoever's potentially going to own the team. I know I read that he wants to get $7 billion. That's what his asking price is, and that the other owners or the other potential buyers, excuse me, are saying that Jeff Bezos is going to roll in at the last minute and steamroll whatever offers given. Which, if I believe that, and I was a potential owner, I would offer him like $9 billion and let Jeff Bezos pay that.
Eat it.
Yeah, come on. You want to outbid me? Fine.
The thing is he probably still would.
I know, because the other thing I read was there's people that are saying that they're not convinced at all that Dan Snyder is going to sell because it's one of the best investments you can have.
Right. Also, but there's like that's a funny joke and everything, but there's no way that actually would happen. Like, I'm going to put a $9 billion offer out there just to stick it. Like, not if Jeff Bezos is like, never mind, I'll just wait for Seattle. Now you're eating $9 billion. And now you're the owner, which is cool. But if you can't actually afford that,
well, and that's always
then that's tough.
That's always the risk in an auction. You think you're upping the price to make somebody eat it, and then they decide, okay, you can have it for that price.
Yeah, then you end up eating it.
Yeah,
somebody's gonna eat it, and it ain't them. Fair enough. All right, and so on the same vein, though, that we're not trading for the QB. This was his quote, and people are taking and running with this. Sam Howell will more than likely be the QB1 going into training camp. But if you actually listen to it, he was much more a little tamed on this statement. It was not Sam Howell's our guy, and that's who we're moving forward with. He's most likely going to be the QB1. He's already been here. He's already familiar. Like, he didn't say all this, but this is the kind of the more feeling I got from the statement where he's already been here. We're going to bring some people in, and it's going to be a competition. What are your odds
That's what I heard
Sam
too.
Howell is actually the QB1 week one? Assuming not injury, but just do you feel like Ron Rivera is real in this situation, that he is actually going to be QB1 week 1 next year, and we're just going to bring in somebody that's more of a vet that can lead?
Yeah, I'd say I'd give you low odds because I'd say that chances are good. Like I'm not giving you 10-1 that it because I think it's very likely that that's going to be the case, unless they find somebody else that bring in that. I believe there's going to be a competition. I believe that's the best way to approach things is make Sam Howell think, hey, you got to do well, or you're not. It's not like you're the given number one because then what's he got to shoot for? So I think there's going to be an open, at least partially open competition, or at least that's the way they're going to talk. But I would say there's a very high probability that Sam Howell is number one next year. And I will say this also, I think Taylor Heineke is probably his backup. I don't know
We're
who the other
going
quarterback's
back
going to
to
be.
Heineke.
I'm just saying, I think
That's a
if they
prediction.
don't have another, unless some great option pops up out of the blue, I mean, what's their other options right now? Who's a known commodity that they don't have to pay 30 million or more to get to say?
Well, it's not going to be that much. They're definitely going to go with a lesser name. It's my opinion on that is whoever the OC is, that's the direction that we're going to go at the quarterback position. So there's different players, right? Like you could say if it's Thomas Brown for the Rams, maybe they go with Wofford, who was the backup there for John Wofford. If it's Pat Shurmur, who I think is the most likely candidate, by the way, but we'll get to that. Pat Shurmur, it's probably going to be like Case Keenum, a vet in the league, been around many different systems, and he also succeeded at a high level with Pat Shurmur when they went 13-3 that year. And so I think it's going to be more, it's tied to whoever the OC is, the direction we actually go with quarterback. The only exception to that is, and we'll get into this right now, and I don't know who the guy would be for this dude, but Ron Rivera also talked about how, and when he was asked how the offensive coordinator job position is looking so far to fill, he said, we're waiting on somebody that's coaching this weekend to interview, hopefully immediately after. And of course, you've seen all the reports. Everybody knows Eric Bieniemy is clearly the dude that he is going after. Same tree at the Andy Reid. How do you feel about getting Eric Bieniemy, the offensive coordinator
Well,
for
and I
the
know we
Chiefs?
talked about this before. It would have to be tied to a avenue to get to the head coaching position. My only question about Bieniemy, and it's an honest question. I don't have a judgment on it, but how much is Kansas City's offense him, and how much of it is Andy Reid?
Yeah,
And is
it's the whole question. It really is. That's why he hasn't had a coaching job yet. How is an offensive coordinator who's leading top-notch offenses year in and year out, and Chad Henne was stepped in and done well in that time, even when Pat Mahomes has gone out. So of course, Pat Mahomes is what makes it elite, but Chad Henne's been able to run the offense without it, and that's got to give some credit to Eric Bieniemy. But yeah, and it's interesting. How does that kind of a guy not have a head coaching job? So yeah, it's very true. But that's what's looming over. But go ahead.
Well, the other thing I want to say is, and we've seen it, Richard Pettibone comes to mind for the Redskins, who was an awesome defensive coordinator, horrible coach. When
Yeah.
Joe Gibbs left, they gave it to him, and he was lost. Head coach is totally different than a
Totally.
coordinator.
Yep.
So it doesn't mean just because Bieniemy is, let's assume it's all him and he's that good as an offensive coordinator. That doesn't translate into a head coach all the time. It might, but it's not an automatic thing. So maybe the times he's been interviewed, people are like, well, I don't know. So I saw what Dr.
If Eric Bieniemy chooses to come here willingly, that should be the biggest red flag of his character. That is too funny.
Like I said, the only way I can see it happening is if there's talk that he's going to have a lane or an avenue towards the head coach. But the other thing I think is going to throw a wrench into this is the whole ownership question. I mean, ownership might come in and wipe out Ron Rivera and everybody and say, "You're all gone. We want to set up our own shop." So
Yeah.
I think
What do you
that's
think the
another
likelihood of
reason.
that is, though? What is it like? Let's say it does get sold pretty much like 2 weeks after the Super Bowl. It's approved in March. What's the likelihood that Ron Rivera's gone this offseason?
It's hard to put a percentage on it. I would not be surprised if the new ownership lets things ride for a year.
I think that is
With
more like 99% likely that they do. They don't have time to vet properly. You're already way into the draft process, the whole situation like of building the team. I think there's almost a 0% chance that Ron Rivera gets fired this offseason just because logistically it's like now him getting fired next office season is like the exact opposite percentage. Like 99% chance he gets fired next offseason and very little chance he keeps his job unless we do well, of course. It's not I'm being dramatic. It's not 99% he gets fired next year. But I would say there's more of a chance he gets fired a lot next year than this offseason, where I think it's almost zero right now. With Eric Bieniemy, so there's two teams that apparently have been linked to him that's most interest, and it's us and Baltimore. Who is the more attractive job, us or Baltimore?
Baltimore is an awfully. I can't stand them, but man, they run a good shop. They just do.
Yeah, but if you're going to be the offensive coordinator, what offense would you rather have? And right now, Baltimore's in
Yeah, that's a good.
limbo with Lamar Jackson. They don't even know if they have their quarterback. Their receivers have been horrible. Their offensive line's banged up. They do have good running backs. They have a great tight end in Mark Andrews. But I think if you compare what they have over there to what we have here and what another offseason of adding to that offensive line, I think we are the more interesting spot for a guy like Eric Bieniemy, who's pretty much just looking to distance himself from Reed and uh, Mahomes anyway. That I think
No,
he can
I
have a
get your point.
top-notch offense.
I get your point. I wasn't saying that they were going to choose Baltimore definitively, but I just say Baltimore is they run an awful good product. But the other thing is they don't mess around. You're going to have to
Mhm.
perform, and they'll give you a year or two or whatever to do something. And if you suck, you're out. The Redskins
Yeah.
will pussyfoot around a little bit more than the Ravens do. So
Yeah.
the Redskins might be a more safe landing where you're going to get more time to adjust. Baltimore is about a win now. They don't mess around. I always go back to when they fired the secondary sucked in that game, and after the game they fired the whole secondary. Just all the starting guys gone. See ya. Or the cornerbacks at least it was.
Yeah.
They don't
That's
mess
funny.
around. So you're going to have to. They want production, and if you don't,
Mhm.
you're not going to get 3, 4, 5 years to
Yeah, but
prove
all right,
yourself.
I hear, I understand where you're coming from there, and I don't disagree. I'm focusing more on the personnel here. If you had a choice
No,
between
I
the
get
two
your angle.
offenses, who would like assuming that we know Eric Bieniemy's goals, right? We don't. We're not in his head, but it seems like I mean he's interviewed many, many times for a head coaching job, and it seems as though Andy Reid, as you alluded to earlier, is looming over him. So let's say you have one season to go somewhere else, show what you can do, and then hopefully by next year you're a head coach somewhere else. So all you care about is one season. Who are you
No,
going
I
with?
get that. Well, again, the biggest wild card, you brought it up. The biggest wild card for the Redskins is, are they going to get an offensive line? Because right now, and look, I'm not a Scott Turner fan.
Mhm.
I'm not defending him, but it's hard to scheme an offense when your
If not
offensive
almost
line
impossible. Yeah.
yeah.
Mhm.
So in all fairness to him, he was given a bad situation where, okay, you gave me a bunch of other talent, but you didn't give me any kind of offensive line that could even kind of protect the quarterback. So I'm sure that had effect on play calling.
Oh, this
Although,
is a great
again,
point.
what's that?
You know what? And I've heard different things about this. I never thought about it at this angle. This is a good point, Jared. On the Kelsey podcast, they were talking about how Kelsey's like always open. And Travis Kelsey did not give a lot of credit, if any. Like when he talks about how he gets open, he talks about Andy Reid.
Not Bieniemy.
Exactly. Andy Reid schemes it open. You know, I heard him say that, but I didn't even think about that is
No,
a
that's a really
big
good
knock
point.
on Eric Bieniemy.
Yeah. That he's like the figurehead of the guy with the mic that's calling the plays. You can't tell me for an instant that Andy Reid is not on that mic giving him,
Yeah.
if something's not working or something, he's like, hey, call this. Hey, Eric, make this call.
Or even if Eric Bieniemy is making the calls, it's still Andy Reid's playbook.
Right.
It's Andy Reid's designs, which is awesome if he could bring some of that over. Even if he's calling the plays legitimately, maybe he's not the best play designer, but if he is, I don't know. Oh man,
Well, let me ask you. Here's a different kind of question.
Yeah.
If Andy Reid had the talent that the Commanders have right now, as it stands, offensive line and everything, how much better would his record be than Ron Rivera? Or would it?
If he had our team, Andy Reid had our team.
In other words, if Andy Reid was the coach of the Commanders, let's say this last year, Andy Reid had the talent that he had and the offensive line that he had, and he was the coach instead of Ron Rivera. Let's say
So the only thing you're changing is Ron Rivera and Andy Reid. You're assuming Jack Del Rio's still here. You're assuming the roster.
Take Andy's entire coaching staff. How much better are they?
Oh, we're
with
way
the
better.
Talent?
We're way better. Steve Spagnuolo, however you say his last name. I mean, he is a multi-world champion, multiple Super Bowl champion defensive coordinator. He did it over there with the Giants. He's done it in Kansas City. Steve Spagnuolo is no joke as a defensive coordinator. Way better. He's arguably the best defensive coordinator in the league that doesn't get talked about all that much as the best defensive coordinator in the league.
Because Kansas City is all about offense.
Correct.
It was, in all fairness, it was like the Patriots. They always talked about the offense. No one talked about the fact that Bill Belichick was a defensive genius.
Yeah, trick question. Andy Reid is too smart to have Martin Mayhew as a GM. Yeah, that's crazy that we hired him. But okay, but the coaching. If you bring the whole coaching staff, it's not even to me. It's not a discussion. You give
but I think
defensive talent.
I know, but I'm saying this. I know the defense. I understand that, but the offense. Kansas City has a pretty doggone good offensive line, and they can execute the plays that Andy Reid calls. I'm not sure the offensive line we have. Unless someone's better, unless it's just because of coaching that they suck. I'm not sure that their offense.
There is part I think the coaching sucks because I feel like they do some things schematically that I thought was just horrible. Maybe if I studied the Kansas City offense, I would see something different, or maybe I wouldn't. But personally, I hated how our offensive line blocked schematically, and I hated how they blocked talent. It was a horrible combination, to say the least. But anyway, not to get sidetracked on that. I want to go back to my question real quick, and to answer it. Who's more attractive, us or Baltimore? I think it's us, and I don't think it's close. And I think we will add offensive line. If not our first round pick, we're gonna pay offensive line. Because Ron Rivera was also asked about that in his interview. This is a trenches league. This will always be a trenches league. And Ron Rivera goes, "Yep, I think so." Right? It's all about the trenches. And look at the Super Bowl right now. You basically have the number one offensive line, and then arguably at least a top 5 offensive line in Kansas City. They have 3 Pro Bowlers on it, maybe even number 2. I don't know, but a top-notch offensive line on both teams. And then you have 2 defensive lines that can get after the quarterback. Eagles have like 4 guys with 10 plus sacks, and then Chris Jones, Frank Clark, Karlaftis over there in Kansas City. It's a trenches league. So Ron Rivera is going to add serious capital to this offensive line. I believe it, right? You have tons of weapons.
He better.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I would have said the same thing last year about linebacker, and they didn't add nothing. They added nothing to the linebacker core, which was insane. But I agree, he better. With our weapons are better than the Ravens. We add to that offensive line, and instead of having Lamar Jackson, who again could be a scapegoat of why he's doing well because you have a top-notch talent, you have Sam Howell, an unproven commodity, but with talent. If you can elevate his game or just ride his coattails, maybe he elevates it anyway, but if he elevates next year, you're going to get a ton of credit. You're going to get a ton of credit as a brand new offensive coordinator. And one of the reasons why this 5th round pick is all of a sudden becomes successful. I think we are the more interesting option for a 1-year Eric Bieniemy, assuming that he is interested in just becoming a OC for 1 more year, maybe 2, to then leap into a head coaching position. I think this is a great time for him to prove his worth here. And shoot, oh man, if Eric Bieniemy is a guy that can lure in an Orlando Brown here, which is the left tackle right now for the Chiefs, I'm in heaven. I want him really bad. He's a great left tackle for the Chiefs. This is interesting.
Well, I was going to comment on Roger's comment, but I'm not sure I should.
Eric hasn't had an opportunity. Good old boy network, which runs the NFL, and everyone knows this. I don't know. It's weird. There's 2 things that you can go with if you're not going to go that angle. But there's 2, or at least 2, right? The Andy Reid. Is it actually him or is it Andy Reid? And the other thing is that they always go deep into the playoffs. They've been to the AFC Championship the last 4 years. A lot of head coaching jobs are already filled by then. Like the other teams want to get their head coach in the door right after the season, right away, to start building. Get them in the building, start hiring the rest of your staff, get ready. Because already just last weekend, the Senior Bowl happened for college players. So you want to get those guys in as quickly as possible. So you're not getting a lot of looks when you're waiting so long in the process as well. But anyway, it's interesting. Hopefully we go and grab them, and I'm in for it. Because also that angle really makes 0 sense because there's so many coaches that are like, I don't know. It doesn't matter. All right. So that's my pitch to Eric Bieniemy. I'm fine with Eric Bieniemy coming here. I don't even know if I really love it or not. But if Eric Bieniemy comes here and he brings in Orlando Brown, A++ to Ron Rivera for a hire. And I hope that happens. That'd be massive. All right. Any last things on the Ron Rivera conversation before we hop into the Super Bowl 57 preview?
No, it's like I said, I was going to make a comment, but I don't think I should. So
Sounds good.
I want to keep this friendly.
It's always
on a positive. Let's say on a positive note.
Yeah, it's always friendly. All right. Super Bowl 57. We have the Kansas City Chiefs and the Philadelphia Eagles traveling over to Arizona to face off for the Super Bowl. The 2-1 seeds in their respective conferences. They both have a 16-3 record with 2 wins in the playoffs, 14 wins in the regular season. We have 2 phenomenal rosters here. But let's just simplify it for one thing here. Does Jalen Hurts have what it takes to compete with Patrick Mahomes? Can it get into a shootout with Hurts and Patrick Mahomes?
Oh, I'm not sure it's going to be a shootout. But, I mean, I think Hurts has the tools.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, and we've discussed this before, that Philadelphia has had really easy schedule. They beat the 49ers that were basically without a quarterback. And the other team I'm drawing a total blank on right now would all right, my mind just.
Sorry, I was reading the question. Sorry, I can't.
No, they beat San Francisco without a quarterback.
Oh, they lost to Tampa. Oh no, sorry, they beat the Giants. They smashed the Giants.
Yeah. So, and I just think it's going to come down to what's the health of Patrick Mahomes right now.
Yeah, with his ankle.
If he's anywhere close to 100%, I think Kansas City wins. But I think that Philadelphia has been the beneficiary. And look, I'm not saying it's bad. If the Redskins, I would love it, but they've been the beneficiary of favorable. Let's just say favorable situations.
Yeah.
And if Patrick Mahomes is not right on that ankle, then I think Philadelphia has a real good chance of winning.
Mm-hmm.
But if he's good, Kansas City is awfully good across the board, and
they are.
I just think that it's all about Patrick Mahomes and what he brings on Sunday, is my opinion.
You mentioned the rosters. It actually is insane, the two rosters we have going against each other right here, right now. Right? And I'm just pulling up just to go down the list here. I mean, the offensive lines are ridiculous, right? Jordan Mailata, Landon Dickerson, Jason Kelsey, Isaac Sumalo, the weakest link, I'm sure, and then Lane Johnson for the Eagles. Orlando Brown, Joe Tooney, Creed Humphrey. I believe those were the three Pro Bowlers. Trey Smith has been tremendous. I think he was like a 5th round or 6th round pick last year for them. And then Andrew Wiley at right tackle. Both have top-notch offensive lines. Then you have Patrick Mahomes versus Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts had a MVP caliber season. Was tremendous this year, especially with using his legs, but even through the air, he was awesome. Weaponry. You have Dallas Goedert versus Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce's definitely better, but Dallas Goedert holds his own. Tremendous tight end matchup in this Super Bowl. Eagles definitely have the better receivers. A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith lead it off. Then you have Kez Watkins, Zach Pascal, and Britton Covey. Whereas you have Juju Smith-Schuster, Valdez Scantling, and Kadarius Toney, as well as Sky Moore for the Chiefs. So still really good weaponry through the receiving core for the Chiefs. That neither team spent a bunch on running back. I love it. This is how you should handle it. Where I think Isaiah Pacheco is tremendous, and Miles Sanders has been a really good running back when healthy. Goddard over Kelce. Good one. Doesn't have a good defense. We're about to get into it right now, what kind of defense they have. Their defense is not as bad as you may think, right? Because you have Brandon Graham, Fletcher Cox, Javon Hargrave, and Josh Sweat. I believe all 4 of them have double-digit sacks for the Eagles. George Karlaftis, Chris Jones, Frank Clark, and Kalen Sanders are the defensive line. Karlaftis, 1st-round pick. Chris Jones, future Hall of Famer. Frank Clark, future Hall of Famer. Frank Clark, I think, has something like, I'm gonna maybe butcher this, but I think he has something like crazy, like 16 sacks and 15 playoff games. Like his ability to get to the quarterback during the playoffs is tremendous for this Kansas City team. Linebackers wise, I think the Chiefs have it. Willie Gay, Nick Bolton, and Carlos Dunlap, and they have Leo Chenal off the bench if they need rotation, right? Versus Kazir White, TJ Edwards, and Hassan Reddick is more of like the pass rusher for them. I would take the Chiefs linebackers. The Chiefs don't stand a chance. Lowell says Roger. All right. Secondary, James Bradbury, Darius Slay. I would give the edge to the Eagles on the secondary. CJ Gardner-Johnson, Reed Blankenship. And then I believe Marcus Epps, the guy that's actually going to get some more play than Blankenship. And then but Trent McDuffie, another 1st-round pick for the Chiefs that's played well. You have L'Jarius Sneed, who's been really, really good this year. And then you have Justin Reed and Juan Thornhill for the secondary. These two teams, Kansas City does not get enough credit, in my opinion, for what kind of actual roster they have. And I'm subject to it as well. I said the Eagles are going to win the Super Bowl. And that's still my prediction, right? I just thought they were too loaded. And I'll ask you the question right after this. But the Chiefs actually have a really loaded roster themselves. Who do you got this game? I laid it out there for you. Who do you have in the Super Bowl? And I think Patrick Mahomes looked pretty darn good in the Bengals game. I don't think his health was really an issue. So I would assume Patrick Mahomes this game is still going to be plenty healthy with 2 weeks rest. I'm sure he's going to get shot up a little
2
bit.
weeks chance. I think he was a little banged up in the last game, but I'm going with the Chiefs. Just if for no other reason. I mean, I'm not saying like this is just a pick because I want to be contrary to you, but that also makes it more fun. But I think the Chiefs win this game. Again, assuming that. Again, when I said the 49ers, and then the first series, their quarterback blows his elbow out, and then the second string quarterback gets hurt, and he can't. They're actually running the ball against the 49ers.
Right.
That's all they knew. It was like, okay, you want to stack 10 up in the box? Good, because they're not throwing the ball, and that's next to impossible. So I'm going with the Chiefs, assuming that Patrick Mahomes doesn't re-aggravate his injury or something like that doesn't happen. If he's a semblance of himself, then I'm good with the Chiefs.
I'm going with the Eagles, and I'm going to go with the score prediction. I'll go first. 30-27 Eagles.
Ooh, so a close game.
Close game. Mahomes is just a freak, dude. And they had a great roster, like I said. But I like, and both coaches are top good, like not just as far as offensive minds. I like these two teams. I'm going 30-27 Eagles in a close one. That's my prediction. 30-27.
I say 30-24 Chiefs.
30-24 Chiefs.
Yeah.
All right.
So it's still going to be a tight game. It's going to be a one-score game. But I would even go as far as to say that in the fourth quarter, the Chiefs are going to be down 24-23, and they're going to have a game-winning drive or a drive late that puts them up by 6, and then Philly can't answer. So it's going to be a tight one. I don't think it's going to be a blowout.
Full disclosure, one of the reasons I'm picking the Eagles is I hope the NFL loves to prove me wrong. I'm rooting for the Chiefs. I am rooting for the Chiefs. All right. For 2 reasons. I don't like the Eagles, but number one, Pat Mahomes is my favorite player outside of Washington. I love Pat Mahomes. I love everything about him. So I'm rooting for it. I'm rooting for it. Who is your Super Bowl MVP in a 30-24 game for the Chiefs?
Kelsey.
Not Patrick Mahomes in a 30-point game. It's Kelsey. I like
because he's going to have at least 2. He's going to have at least 2 of the touchdowns and over 100 yards complete.
All right, everybody's going to call me crazy. I don't care. I just want to predict it. I think it's hilarious, and I love that you picked Travis Kelce because my Super Bowl MVP is they're going to acknowledge how great the offensive line was, and they're going to give it to Jason Kelce, the center, wins Super Bowl MVP, cut to win the Kelce Bowl. They say, screw it. We're giving it to the better of the Kelce brothers. I said it. Jason Kelce.
By the way, did you see their mother's jersey? It's half and half.
Yes. Travis got it for her. And apparently it was funny. So Travis surprised her with it and got it for her. And when they were playing a game, she was walking up to Jason and she mentioned, I had to turn around right away to show that it had both jerseys.
Well, you knew it was him that got it because the Chiefs were on the front.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, I think the back is just as valid though. I mean, because like everybody from behind is seeing, oh, she's supporting the Eagles. Actually, no, she's supporting both. But anyway, I know it's more of a meme. My quote unquote real prediction will be, I think it'll be Jalen Hurts that wins the Super Bowl MVP. But if it happens, you heard it here first. Jason Kelce's Super Bowl MVP.
Yeah, all right. I'm curious how often brothers play against each other in a Super Bowl.
Never. This is the first time ever. Also, the Kelce brothers are playing this time, had to be. But it's the first time ever 2 brothers are playing quarterback against each other. 2 black guys. I saw that meme. I thought it was hilarious. And I think that's actually true. It's the first time ever 2 brothers are playing against each other in the Super Bowl. It's Jalen Hurts and Patrick Mahomes. I don't think it ever happened where two black dudes have played each other in the Super Bowl at quarterback.
Oh, that's a good point too. I never thought about that either.
I saw that meme. I thought it was hilarious. I thought that was pretty good. He goes, "This is the first time ever two brothers are playing against each other in the Super Bowl." Oh yeah, and the Kelsey brothers are playing against each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no,
that's funny.
Can you name the other? There's two coaches that have played each other that were brothers in the Super Bowl. Can you name those?
I'm sorry, what's that?
There's coaches that have gone head coaches that have gone head to head against each other in the Super Bowl.
Oh, that was John and Jim, right?
Exactly.
Harbaugh?
Yep. They're mentioning it in the chat now. John and Jim, they did face each other in the Super Bowl, but they didn't play. So this is the first time that two brothers have played each other in the Super Bowl.
Wasn't that
they did coach.
The power outage conspiracy? Where they kind of felt like San Fran was on a roll, and then the power went out, and then they had a long delay, and then Baltimore came back and won.
Yes, they did.
And I'm not saying I believe. I just said that's what the conspiracies were.
Didn't Nick Foles and Tom Brady play? Yes, the 2012 Super Bowl. Correct. Was it the 2012-2013 season? Yeah, because of the 2011-2012 season was the Patriots versus Giants take two. Yeah, it was the 2012-2013 season. Correct. Yep. It was RG3's rookie year because we beat the Ravens that year with Kirk Cousins coming in to finish the game going into overtime. When Elodie Nada took out RG3's knee.
We got the 2-point conversion to tie it to go to overtime, and then we won it. That was such a glorious day at FedEx Field.
We've actually beaten the Eagles a couple of times. We beat the Eagles, I believe it was in 2016 as well. I was at that game in Baltimore. It was that 16-10 ugly game. Jamison Crowder ran back a touchdown. I was at that game with Daryl.
So do you think, and I was wondering about this, do you think that the Eagles just overlooked the Commanders this year, and that's why they were able to run the ball and hold on to it for so long? Like the Eagles were just kind of...
They lost Jordan Davis, their big boy in the middle, their first-round pick. They lost him like a week or two before, and that really hurt their run defense, like a lot. And then right after that, they went and got, Ndamukong Suh, and I think it was Linval Joseph, if I remember correctly. They went and added two big defensive tackles right after that game to make sure that did not happen again.
Right.
Didn't the McKenzie brothers play in the Super Bowl? Yeah, I feel the same way as Jared. Who's McKenzie?
Yeah.
The McKenzie brothers.
That sounds like a rock band or a boy band. I don't know. Hold on. NFL.
McKenzie Super Bowl brothers. His identical twin brother, Raleigh McKenzie, also played in the National Football League as an offensive lineman. Reggie McKenzie. Did they? I have no idea.
Hold on. I'm trying to... What is...
The Kelsey Bros this year, yeah. Raleigh and his brother from the Raiders.
So according to NFL.com, the Kelsey brothers are the first in NFL history to play against each other. I don't know if we're talking
Redskins, Raiders. I mean, we can see. I can. Here we go. When did we play the Raiders in the Super Bowl? That was the one we lost, right?
80. That was right after the year we won.
So 83?
Something like that. 83, 84.
Or was it 82, 83? We won in 81, 82, right? Or did we win 82, 83?
I think it was the next year after that.
It was the 1983 Super Bowl. Okay, so let's look at the Raleigh McKenzie. Let's look at his career here. Was he on the? Was he starting then? We can double check. We can fact check this. So he was on the team. Oh no, 85. Raleigh did not play here until 85. He was drafted in 1985. So if that Super Bowl was in 83, then they did not play each other in the Super Bowl.
All right, so I have a funny story about that. I don't know if that was the Super Bowl, but a guy I knew from Chevrolet worked at RFK Stadium in the visitors' locker room. And he said they used to bring beer in a paper bag, like a 6-pack of beer, and stash it in the locker room. So after the players cleared out, they would go in and clean up the locker room, and he'd have beer to drink. Well, they're waiting outside the locker room. It was the Oakland Raiders. And Lyle Alzado comes out with his bag of beer under his arm. And he goes, I didn't say anything to him.
He stole his beer?
He was like, he had my beer. He was like, I ain't saying nothing to him,
man. He stole his beer.
But he had the bag of beer under his arm and one of the beers in his hand, and he was drinking it. And Joe was like, didn't say nothing. It's like, okay.
That's too funny. That's too funny.
But anyway.
All right, you ready? All right, well, this is going to be a quick one. We're going to get done in about an hour. You ready for Weddle?
Yeah, let's do Weddle and get out of here, because I know it's a slim pickings on the subject, but we filled it up pretty good.
Oh, I thought we did great. I thought it was a very interesting topics. I don't think it was slim. I thought that was good. I thought that was a good.
I just meant it. We made the best of it, but it's not football season, so we don't have an hour and a half worth of stuff to talk about.
Right. All right, you ready? Here we go. So,
Jalen Hurts.
Jalen Hurts.
I haven't done him yet. We have to be, Super Bowl.
All right. We do have a quarterback. It's in the NFC, though, so it can't be Patrick Mahomes. Not the NFC East. So we have a young quarterback, though, in the NFC. A young quarterback in the NFC, I guess that was just drafted. I guess Justin Fields is not 6'4". It's got to be 6'4" or taller. Justin Fields is only 6'3". Who's a 23-year-old quarterback?
What about Jacksonville?
No, that's AFC.
That's AFC. Sorry,
No, you're fine. Right. NFC. So NFC West, we have Murray, we have Geno, Matt Stafford.
And under 24.
Yeah, it's a young quarterback that was literally, I guess, just drafted.
What about Jared Goff?
No, Jared Goff's old.
Is he? I didn't think he was that old.
Division. Oh, well, I mean, he's like 30. He's up. I mean, he was drafted first overall in the 2017 draft. Something
okay. Like time flies. I don't know.
Yeah. It's not Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones is too old as well.
I guess it's not Purdy.
Desmond Ridder. It's Ridder. It's not Ridder? Ridder's taller than 6'3". You're a liar. So it's 22-year-old quarterback? In the NFC North or the NFC West?
What about Purdy?
Purdy's only 6'1". But we can do it just to see the West. I mean, we just... All right, it's on San Francisco? Oh, Trey Lance is only 22? Why did I forget Trey Lance? Trey Lance is only 22? Really?
Hey, I'd say my Purdy pick brought you home.
Hold on, he got drafted in 2021. So it wasn't even last year he got drafted. And he got drafted at 20 years old. Wow. I didn't realize that. Okay, well,
all right,
if you don't know now, you know.
Have we done a Kelsey before?
No, we can pick a Kelsey. You want to pick the offensive
lineman
Kelsey?
Let's do the other Kelsey.
Jason Kelsey. Oh, okay. We got NFC. That's it. All right. Not even on offense.
Oh, so much for that.
Let's go with Ward. No, sorry. With Travarius Ward. Okay, NFC West. We're not on defense either, so we have a special teamer here in the NFC West. That's 27 or 28. Teamer? Yeah, let's go with Myers. No. Wait, who's the kicker for the Seahawks? I thought their kicker was named Meyer. Is it with an A? No. Okay. Jason Myers or something? I thought that was their kicker.
NFC West.
And it's got to be one of their kickers or something. Number 8 or number 9. It could be a punter. Chase McLaughlin? No, he's on the Colts. So it is a kicker. Okay, that's good to see.
By the way, Myers is MY. You had MY before? Yeah, that's the way it's
spelled. It's MY. Okay. That's why I was like, isn't there a kicker named Jason Myers? But I didn't know how to spell it. Okay. But that's not the kicker we're looking for. So who's the kicker for the Rams now? Because it's not Greg the Leg anymore. Crap. I forget the kicker. And I also really forget the kicker for the
Green Bay?
Cardinals. Who?
Green Bay? Are they?
No, it's either the kicker for the Rams or the Cardinals. And I'm drawing a blank on both of their kickers hardcore right now. Like I feel like I'm back like 3-4 years ago. I'm like Zane Gonzalez and
Greg Matt Gay. I'm looking at the list.
Gay, that's who it is. That's who it is. It's Matt Gay. Where's his name? Bang.
Boom.
It is Matt Gay.
We're good at this.
Why did I forget Matt Gay all the time? I don't understand. I feel like that's not the first time I met Matt Gay.
Again, I'm going to keep my comments to myself.
They offered him tickets and he turned them down thinking the Super Bowl was in Florida. Who's that? Oh, he's telling a story. That year the Super Bowl was in San Diego. By the time the playoffs started, especially prior to the Super Bowl, the company knew my dad was a huge fan. They offered him tickets and he turned down thinking the Super Bowl was in Florida. Ouch. Well,
I hate
cool.
when that happens.
All right.
All right.
That's a show. I appreciate everybody in the chat. And I'm sorry that we had to do this on Thursday. I got caught up with doing some random stuff for work and everything. I got off work late and then I had to go freaking plug a tire for my brother-in-law. He was only 18. He's never done it before. I taught him how to do it. So hopefully now he'll never have to call me again for that.
And not on a Wednesday either.
Yeah, not on a Wednesday. Yeah, don't tell me you have a flat tire. And it was flat too. It needed to be done so he could go to school the next day. So,
but I appreciate the flexibility of the listeners and them hanging out with us. They're always fun.
Absolutely. All right. Any last things to say?
Nope. Just Super Bowl Sunday. We'll have something to talk about next week. It should be fun.
So I will be streaming the Super Bowl on this channel. So make sure you come on through, play-by-play, radio style, like streaming the Super Bowl on Sunday, of course. And then I will be, I'm committed. I'm not going to be streaming a whole lot from now on after. I know we were talking about maybe we stream this or stream that. My goal now is going to be trying to watch as much film as I can and get familiar with these players. And I'm going to try to be putting out a video a day for different prospects. So that's my goal, is to put out one video a day, breaking down a prospect leading up to the draft and getting ready for the draft, just like I did 2 years ago. So if you're interested,
by the way, Antoinette, thanks. Appreciate it.
Oh, yes. If you're interested in that, keep a lookout. So
I'd like to think I'm the better half of the show, but
100%.
Oh yeah.
By better, we mean worse.
We'll go with that.
No, just kidding. So I do have the channel membership. I'm going to give something back to the channel membership. I'm going to first post it a day early, the videos to members only part of the channel. And then the next day is when it'll go to the general public. So it'll be the same video, but you get early access to whichever video it is if you're a channel member. So give back to the channel members a little bit there too. So something small. I need a couple more content, but there you go. All right. My money's on, says Bobby Shane. My money's on the Chiefs. Well, good luck. I'm rooting for the Chiefs, but I'm picking the Eagles. All right. We're going to get out of here. I appreciate everybody. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe. Make sure you get into the Discord. Talk it up over there. And also, you can become a channel member, just like I talked about, hitting the join button underneath or the first link in the description, 99 cents a month. You'll get early access to these videos that are going to be coming out, and you just support the channel. So I will see you guys next week. And until next time, See you.